On their 5th wedding anniversary, the gift Ethan Cole received was his wife's words. "Let's get a divorce." He wasn't shocked, nor was he sad. He just asked her calmly, "Do you have any idea that this will be the 38th time we've done this?" A flicker of helplessness crossed Laura Morgan's eyes. "Leo's on a roof, threatening to jump. He says he won't come down unless I divorce you. You know he has depression." "Yeah, I know," he cut her off. "So how long is it for this time?" She froze, apparently not expecting him to be so calm. "Once his mood stabilizes, we'll get remarried." She reached out to touch his shoulder, then pulled her hand back. "Okay." He looked at her and suddenly found it all laughable. "Fine," he said. "After all, we owe him this." The staff at the county clerk's office already knew them. "You two again?" The clerk pushed her reading glasses up her nose and expertly pulled out the forms. "Standard dissolution again?" Ethan nodded and took the pen. Laura signed beside him, the tip of her pen scratching against the paper, as decisive as it had been the last 37 times. When it was Ethan's turn, the pen hovered over the page. He zoned out for a second. The 38th time. The first time, he had been hysterical. The second, he'd still asked her why. The third, the fourth. By the 9th time, he was able to smile and tell the clerk, "Could you speed it up, please?" He took a deep breath and signed his name one deliberate stroke at a time. Ethan Cole. This time, he wrote it with particular care. When they walked out of the courthouse, Leo Vance was waiting by the door. His eyes lit up, and he joyfully pulled Laura into his arms. "Laura, my love." Laura went stiff, instinctively glancing at Ethan before forcefully pushing Leo away. "Don't make a scene." Leo didn't care. He snatched the divorce decree, looking it over and over, grinning from ear to ear. Then he turned to Ethan, his eyes full of provocation. "You're divorced anyway. Why do you care what she does? You're single now, Laura, which means you have to accept my advances." Ethan said nothing. Laura's face darkened. "Leo, hey, don't be like that." He grabbed her hand excitedly. "Today's a great day. Let's go get some hot pot to celebrate. Bring your ex-husband along. The more the merrier." Laura looked at Ethan, a hint of apologetic probing in her eyes. He smiled faintly. "Sure." Ethan sat in the back seat, watching Leo and Laura get cozy. Leo reached over to tuck a stray strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers brushing suggestively against her earlobe, a sensitive spot only Ethan knew about. Laura's brow furrowed slightly, but she didn't push him away. Just like the 38 divorces she'd put him through for Leo's sake, she was silent, tolerant, and compromising when it came to him. A light rain began to streak the car windows. He suddenly remembered their wedding day, 5 years ago. Ethan and Laura were the golden couple of their university. At the freshman welcome party, his piano performance had captivated the entire audience, while her classical dance had been the talk of the campus. They were named the campus heartthrobs and fell for each other the moment their eyes met. Laura was incredibly gentle with Ethan throughout their relationship. The only point of friction was her childhood friend, Leo Vance. Leo had been obsessed with Laura since they were kids, constantly chasing after her. But she only ever saw him as a younger brother. Her heart belonged entirely to Ethan. Until the wedding day. The venue was filled with guests. Leo, however, was calling her phone nonstop. Ethan gently advised her, "Don't answer. The ceremony is about to start." Laura nodded, silenced her phone, and handed it to a staff member. What they didn't know was that Leo had gone a bender that day. He got blackout drunk and was dragged into an alley by a group of thugs. He managed to find his phone and desperately called Laura for help, but she never picked up. By the time the police found him, he was covered in blood, his eyes vacant. After that, Leo was diagnosed with severe depression. He started staging suicide attempts, standing on rooftops and telling Laura, "If you don't divorce Ethan, I'll jump." Laura, racked with guilt, agreed every single time. During those periods, she would divorce Ethan and spend every waking moment with Leo, letting him cling to her, act spoiled, and even deliberately provoke Ethan in front of her. Once Leo's mood stabilized, he would cry and apologize. "I'm so sorry. I don't know why I get like that." Then, Laura would come back and remarry Ethan. Over and over. 38 times. Ethan went from agony to numbness, and now, to exhaustion. This time, Laura was still indulging Leo, but he was tired. He had already decided. This time, he wouldn't remarry her. He took out his phone, opened the family group chat, and typed a message. "Mom, Dad, Laura and I are divorced again. This is the 38th time, and it's the last. I don't want to be tangled up with her anymore. You mentioned wanting to immigrate to Australia to be with Aunt Carol's family, right? Go ahead and start the paperwork. Let's all leave together." His parents knew the hell he'd been through over the years, and their hearts ached for him. "Laura loves you, son. We know that. but she's too indecisive, and she keeps hurting you. Your father, and I support you this time. Ethan, you're still young. You have a long life ahead of you. You'll definitely find someone better." Reading his parents' comforting words, Ethan felt a lump form in his throat, an immense sorrow washing over him. When they got to the hot pot restaurant, Leo insisted on sitting next to Laura, holding her hand intimately. She instinctively tried to pull away, but he looked at her like a kicked puppy, whimpering that she was rejecting him. Laura felt helpless and let him cling to her like a human appendage. Under his relentless pressure, she mixed his dipping sauce, tied his bib, and wiped the sweat from his forehead. The waitress who brought their food saw them and whispered to a colleague about what a loving and affectionate couple they were. Ethan sat in the corner, listening quietly, saying nothing, like a ghost at the table. It wasn't until he took out a tissue to go to the restroom that he accidentally pulled a necktie from his bag. The moment Leo saw it, his face changed. He shot up from his seat, as if possessed. Then, he grabbed the boiling pot of simmering broth and hurled it directly at Ethan. The scalding liquid seared his skin, raising grotesque blisters. His clothes stuck to the burnt flesh, a bloody, mangled mess. The pain was so intense, Ethan couldn't stand. He collapsed to the floor, his face pale as he cried out in agony. A continuous, burning pain ripped through his nerves, like red-hot needles piercing his body. He trembled violently, and through a blurry haze, he saw Laura jolt and rush toward him. "Ethan!" Seeing her reaction, Leo's eyes went red. He screamed hysterically, "Laura, stay away from him. I forbid it. Those bastards used a tie just like that to gag me. I tried so hard to call you, but you didn't answer a single call. I waited for you for so long, so long." Instantly, Laura froze in her tracks. Leo seized the opportunity and threw himself into her arms, clinging to her like a lost puppy. "Laura, take me away. Take me away from here." Laura glanced at Ethan, who was on the verge of passing out from the pain, then back at Leo, who was clutching her skirt, sobbing about his trauma. Finally, she gritted her teeth, helped Leo up, and turned to leave. The moment she turned her back, Ethan could no longer hold on. He collapsed, unconscious. When he woke up, Ethan found himself in a hospital, the treated wounds still throbbing with a dull ache. The nurse, seeing the horrific scars on his body, looked at him with pity. "The restaurant staff brought you in. Where's your wife? We need her to handle the admission paperwork. You're hurt this badly. You need someone to take care of you." The image of Laura walking away without a second thought flashed in his mind, and a sharp pain pierced his heart. "I'm divorced. I don't have a wife." Just as the words left his lips, Laura burst through the door. "Ethan, as soon as Leo is better, I promise I'll remarry you. Don't say things like that just to spite me. I know what he did was wrong, but he didn't mean it. I'm apologizing to you on his behalf." Hearing her make excuses for Leo, Ethan just felt tired. "In your eyes, no matter what Leo does, it's forgivable. He's more important than me. Even if we remarry, we'll just divorce again, so why bother? I'm tired. I don't want to play this game with you two anymore. Go be with him. Don't worry about me, your ex-husband." Every word was from the heart, but to Laura, it just sounded like he was jealous and angry. She stepped forward and took his hand. He threatened to kill himself. "I had no choice. I couldn't just stand by and watch. The divorce is just a formality. In my heart, you'll always be my husband. Once he's better, we can go back to living our lives peacefully." "Wait? How long do I have to wait? If he never gets better, are you just going to indulge him for the rest of his life?" Laura was silent for a long moment before speaking, her voice hoarse. "The doctor said his condition is slowly improving. He will recover one day. Just be patient a little longer. This is what we owe him." Ethan couldn't remember how many times he'd heard that line. He closed his eyes, his chest heavy and tight. "Yes, we owe him. That's why I've decided." Before he could finish, Laura's phone rang. Leo's frantic voice was audible even from a distance. "Laura, did you sneak off to see Ethan while I was sleeping? He's your ex-husband now. You have to keep your distance. I'm hungry. Can you come have dinner with me? If you don't, I'll kill myself." Hearing this, she rubbed her temples, patiently soothed him for a few moments, then stood up to leave. "Ethan, you get some rest. I'll come back to see you later tonight." Ethan smiled bitterly, watching her retreating figure as he quietly finished his interrupted sentence. "Laura, I've decided to give you to him completely and forever. From now on, you and I have nothing to do with each other." Over the next few days in the hospital, Laura would visit from time to time. She'd say she was there to help with his checkups and wound dressings. But the moment Leo called in a panic, she would rush out. And every time she left, Ethan would receive a taunting message from Leo. "My appetite's been off lately, so Laura made me some special chicken soup. Did she bring you any?" "Didn't think so. I had nightmares all last night. and Laura stayed by my side the whole time. When I woke up, her silk robe was soaked with sweat from worrying about me. The doctor said I need to get out more, so Laura planned a whole day for us. We went to the movies, went shopping, and I kissed her neck for a long, long time. Left a lot of hickeys. Looking at the photos and videos Leo sent, Ethan felt a tightness in his chest, like he couldn't breathe. He silently completed his discharge paperwork and went home alone, only to find Leo standing at his door with a suitcase. The water main in my building broke, and it'll take days to fix. Just let me move in with you. I want to see you every day. Laura's tone was firm. Stop it, Leo. I'll get you a hotel. This is my and Ethan's marital home. You can't stay here. You're divorced, aren't you? What marital home? I don't care. If you don't let me stay, I'll just sleep on the street. If a car runs me over, you can come collect my body. Leo used his old tricks, and without waiting for an answer, he grabbed his suitcase and walked inside. She was powerless against him and could only give in. When she looked up and saw Ethan, she froze. Ethan, you're out of the hospital? Why didn't you let me pick you up? She hurried over to him, and seeing him staring at Leo's back, she quickly explained. Leo is staying for a few days, just a few days. Don't be angry. Ethan looked down, his voice calm. Fine. He can stay as long as he wants. Laura hadn't expected him to agree. She was surprised and shocked. You don't mind? Ethan shook his head, a self-deprecating smile on his face. There was nothing to mind. After all, he wasn't the man of the house anymore. As soon as Leo entered, he started bossing the housekeepers around, acting like he owned the place. Get the bedroom next to Laura's office ready for me. I don't like any of those model planes and cars in the display case. Throw them all out. And the wedding photos and pictures on the walls and tables are pissing me off. Get rid of them. The staff was confused and looked instinctively at Laura. But Laura just nodded indulgently. Do as he says. Ethan had expected her to give in. He laughed at himself and went back to his room. He started gathering the gifts Laura had given him over the years, the love letters from when they were dating. After packing everything into a box, he went to throw it away, but when he opened his door, he saw the living room in complete chaos. The wedding photos were smashed, the models were tossed in the trash, and glasses and vases were shattered on the floor. The home he had meticulously cared for 3 years was utterly destroyed, stripped of its former warmth and tidiness. Ethan stared at the wreckage, dazed. When he came to, he saw Leo standing in front of him, a triumphant look in his eyes. You and Laura are over. This stuff shouldn't exist anymore, just like you. You're destined to become a thing of the past. Ethan knew he was being deliberately provoked and ignored him. But Leo wouldn't let it go. He grabbed Ethan's arm and was about to say something else when he saw the contents of the box. His tone changed instantly. Are these all from Laura? Why are you taking them out? Trying to show off in front of me. Ethan glanced at him, his voice flat and emotionless. I'm not you. I don't have time for such childish games. With that, he tried to leave, but his words enraged Leo. He grabbed a vase from a shelf and smashed it over Ethan's head. As Ethan staggered, Leo gave him a violent shove, sending him tumbling over the second-floor railing. Who do you think you're kidding? He snarled viciously. Go to hell. A searing pain, followed by a powerful sensation of falling. Before Ethan could process what was happening, he hit the hard floor below. Blood gushed out, staining his entire body crimson. He felt as if his bones were shattered, his body convulsing in a pool of his own blood. As his consciousness faded, the last thing he saw was Laura's horrified face as she ran toward him. After a full day and night of emergency surgery, Ethan finally regained consciousness. The doctor let out a long sigh of relief. You sustained a cranial injury and suffered severe blood loss. You were nearly gone when they brought you in. Your wife was like a madwoman, calling in specialists and professors for your surgery. She even put the entire hospital on retainer and donated so much blood for you that she fainted. That's what saved your life. You're incredibly lucky to have a wife who loves you that much. It's the only reason you pulled through. The words chilled Ethan to the bone. In the past, no matter how Leo used his depression as an excuse to hurt him, Ethan had always tolerated it for Laura's sake. But after a trip to death's door, he couldn't endure it any longer. He picked up his phone and called the police. Officers arrived quickly to take his statement. Mr. Cole, based on the evidence you provided, we can confirm this was a case of intentional assault. We advise you to press charges and file a formal report. Before he could respond, Laura pushed the door open. Press charges? Ethan, what are you doing? Calling the cops. Hearing his cold tone, Laura's expression hardened. She snatched the phone from his hand. Leo hurt you by accident. He didn't mean it. You're safe now. Why are you still holding a grudge? Hearing those words come from her mouth, Ethan's chest tightened, and he could no longer control his emotions. There's security footage in the house that proves he did it on purpose, and you're still defending him? Is it because you don't realize he almost killed me? Or is it because my life just doesn't matter to you? It's not that I don't care about you. It's just that you know Leo's mental state. He can't handle any kind of stress. If you have the police take him away, you'll be pushing him over the edge. The first half of his life was ruined because of us. Are we going to ruin the second half too? Hearing her defend Leo at every turn, Ethan bit his lip so hard he tasted blood. Was his life really ruined because of us? On our wedding day, he knew we were getting married. Instead of calling 911, he called you for help. I had no idea it was an emergency call. What did I do wrong? If you cared about him so much, you should have never gotten involved with me in the first place. No matter what he does, you always find an excuse. Does he have to kill me before you'll finally care about how I feel? His raw, anguished accusations left Laura stunned. She had never seen this side of Ethan. Her heart clenched, and she rushed forward to embrace him, whispering apologies. I'm sorry, Ethan. I wasn't thinking clearly. I neglected your feelings. But no matter what, you have to believe that you're the only one I love. Ethan stared at her, his voice firm as he spoke his final words on the matter. If that's true, then don't stop me from calling the police. All I want is justice. Laura was silent for a moment, as if about to argue further. But looking into his eyes, which were brimming with unshed tears, she finally handed the phone back to him. Days passed. Ethan was discharged, and the police concluded their investigation. Mr. Cole, our investigation has confirmed that the suspect suffers from a mental illness. The evidence you provided is insufficient to press charges. Ethan couldn't believe it. The case, with its rock-solid evidence, was being dropped. He couldn't accept the outcome. He went back to the house to retrieve the security footage himself. But as he approached the door, he heard Leo's voice from inside. Laura, thank you for destroying the security footage for me, and for getting my psychiatrist's report, and even using your connections to keep the police from getting involved. That's how I stayed out of jail. I knew you had feelings for me. I knew you wouldn't let me suffer. In that moment, Ethan felt like he'd been struck by lightning. So it was all Laura's doing. She knew Leo had nearly killed him, yet she still chose to protect Leo. A searing pain ripped through Ethan's chest, but it was coupled with an immense sense of relief that he had decided to cut ties with her for good. The urge to leave grew stronger. He trembling took out his phone and messaged his parents about the immigration status. A reply came almost instantly. Ethan, we've submitted the paperwork. It should be approved in a week at most. 1 week. In just 1 week, he could be free. The news settled his racing heart. The next second, the front door opened, and Leo appeared before him. Seeing Ethan, Leo's expression shifted, and he snatched the phone from his hand. What are you doing skulking by the door with your phone? Are you trying to call the cops on me again? Laura, following close behind, jumped when she saw Ethan. She immediately took the phone from Leo, wanting to see what was going on. She moved so quickly that Ethan had no time to react. His heart leaped into his throat, thinking his plan to leave was about to be exposed. But just as Laura looked down at the screen, the battery died and the phone shut off. Her face darkened as she looked up at Ethan. Ethan, were you calling the police again? They've already closed the case. Can you please just let it go? Hearing her continue to defend Leo, Ethan felt a pain so sharp he could barely stand. He looked up, his voice trembling. Don't worry. I was just talking to my parents. I wasn't calling the police. Laura seemed to relax slightly. Is something wrong? Why do you need to talk to them? You don't have to bother them. If you need anything, just tell me. I'll take care of it. Hearing her confident tone, Ethan's gaze hardened. Anything at all? You'll take care of it for me? Yes, anything at all, Laura replied without hesitation, as if she would truly move mountains for him. Ethan was silent for a few seconds, about to speak, when Leo cut in. Laura, I have a follow-up appointment with my doctor today. Will you come with me? Laura fell silent. After a moment, she looked at Ethan. Ethan, I need to take Leo to his appointment first. Whatever you need, can we deal with it when I get back? From the moment Leo opened his mouth, Ethan knew how this would end. He said nothing, just quietly watched as Leo forcefully pulled her away and whispered the request he never got to make. The only thing I want from you is to be left alone. Give me back my freedom for good. For the next 2 days, Laura didn't show up. Leo, however, plastered his social media with photos and videos of them shopping and eating together. Ethan watched it all, but the pain was gone. He was busy liquidating his assets from the divorce, converting real estate and stocks into cash, and transferring it all to his parents. Just as he finished, Laura returned. She didn't explain where she'd been. She just pulled him in her car and drove to a hotel. Ethan stood at the entrance, looking at the bustling crowd of guests inside, completely bewildered. Why did you bring me here? It's Leo's birthday. He wanted a big party, so I threw one for him. He specifically asked me to invite you, so I brought you along. Hearing Laura's casual tone, Ethan's voice trembled. I don't want anything to do with him. You dragged me here just to appease him? Is his birthday really that important to you? Laura squeezed his hand, her voice laced with frustration. Ethan, I know you don't want to be here, but his mood has been unstable lately. I don't want to set him off. Just bear with it a little longer. Once he's better, we'll get remarried, and he won't bother us anymore. Okay. As she spoke, she pulled Ethan into the grand ballroom. The moment he saw her, Leo rushed over, his face beaming. He took her hand in front of all the guests, an intimate gesture for all to see. Laura, everyone is saying how thoughtful you were with the party decorations. The flowers, the wine, even my suit. You picked everything out yourself. I absolutely love it. He showed off casually, then glanced at Ethan with a provocative smile. Ethan, I heard Laura used to celebrate your birthday every year. I was so jealous back then. Now, right after your divorce, she's throwing me a surprise party. You're not upset, are you? Ethan showed no reaction. He remained impassive even as Leo pulled Laura away in front of him. He just sat silently on his sofa, listening to the incessant whispers around him. Divorced again? This must be the 38th time. Ethan Cole really has the patience of saint. If my wife kept divorcing me for another man, I wouldn't tolerate it even once. But that's Laura Morgan. She's the woman every man dreams of. Ethan was lucky to marry up. You think he'd be willing to let go? Besides, I heard Leo's accident was Ethan's fault. He's the one who told Laura not to answer the emergency call. He deserves this. Everyone says Laura Morgan loves Ethan Cole. I used to think so too. But after watching this drama for years, I'm starting to think she has a thing for Leo. They were childhood friends, and Leo was always chasing her. If Ethan hadn't come along, they might have gotten together. Now that Leo's had his accident, look how worried and guilty she is. She'd probably give her life for him. Every word was like a needle piercing Ethan's heart. He dug his nails into his palms, watching as Laura whispered in Leo's ear, intercepted drinks for him, and even lifted her heavy gown for him. Maybe they were right. Maybe he had been the intruder in their story all along. Maybe he should have just let them be. Ethan closed his eyes and stood up to leave, but Leo, quick as a flash, blocked his path. Leaving so soon, Ethan? Not even a goodbye? You're not still mad at me, are you? In any case, thanks for coming. I got a gift for every guest. Please take one. As Leo held out the gift box, Ethan's intuition screamed at him not to take it. He refused on the spot, but Leo insisted, trying to force it on him, even grabbing his bag to stuff it inside. Ethan tried to pull his bag back, and in the struggle, it fell to the floor, spilling the contents of the gift box. It was a stack of photographs. Before he could even see what they were, the color drained from Leo's face. He let out a blood-curdling scream. Ethan, get them away. Get them away from me. Laura, who had been chatting with some old friends, rushed over at the sound. The moment she saw the photos, she went rigid. She immediately shielded Leo and turned on Ethan, her voice filled with fury. Ethan, what the hell do you think you're doing? Ethan was completely lost, with no idea what was happening. It was only when he looked down that he saw the photos. They were all of Leo from that year after he was assaulted, covered in blood, clothes torn, lying in a dark alley. Ethan's mind went blank. He remembered the gift box Leo had tried to shove into his bag. It wasn't me. Leo gave this to me. Hearing his explanation, Leo burst into tears, looking as if he might faint from grief. Ethan, this is the most painful memory of my life. Why would I ever give these photos to you? Can't you even come up with a better lie? If you hadn't stopped Laura from answering her phone that day, I would have never been attacked by those thugs. 5 of them. Ethan, there were 5 of them. The commotion had attracted the other guests, who now crowded around to see what was happening. Once they saw the photos, they pieced together the story and shot scornful looks at Ethan, as if he were a cold-blooded murderer. Ethan trembled. It wasn't me. I really didn't. Before he could finish, Laura slapped the stack of photos across his face. The sharp edges of the prints cut his brow, leaving a startling trail of blood. But what hurt more were her words, as cold and sharp as ice. Ethan, I told you, as soon as Leo is better, we could go back to how things were. What happened back then was your fault. Both of us are paying a debt. But now you're not just jealous, you're being cruel enough to torment him at his own birthday party. Are you trying to push him to suicide? Every word was a dagger twisting his heart. In an instant, he was a mangled, bleeding mess, the pain so intense it felt like a chilling frost. His eyes, strained with suppressed emotion, turned a shade of red, so deep it looked like they might start bleeding. Laura, I'm going to say this one last time. I did not bring these photos. If you don't believe me, we could get a fingerprint analysis right now. God, I regret it so much. Why did I ever say yes when you asked me out? At his words, Laura froze, her runaway anger slowly receding. She took a few steps forward, about to say something, but just then, Leo ran out of the room, crying that he was going to kill himself. Seeing this, Laura couldn't spare another thought for Ethan. She rushed after Leo. The remaining guests exchanged knowing glances, their eyes still fixed on Ethan, clearly unconvinced of his innocence. Exhausted, Ethan didn't bother to argue further. He turned to leave alone. Just as he stepped outside the hotel, he saw Leo standing frantically by the side of the road, looking like he was about to run into traffic. A car sped toward him. At the last second, Laura threw herself forward, pulling him into her arms and saving his life. He leaned against her shoulder, sobbing uncontrollably. "Laura, let me go. I'm tainted. I need to die." Laura's face was etched with pain. She wiped the sweat from his forehead, her voice gentle. "Don't say that. How could you be tainted? No matter what happens in my heart, you will always be that innocent, kind boy. That will never change." Leo finally calmed down, looking at her earnestly and asking if she really meant it. When she gave a firm nod, he leaned in to kiss her. Laura instinctively turned away. At her rejection, Leo shattered. He tore himself from her embrace, his voice filled with despair. "You're lying. You think I'm disgusting. I should have died that afternoon 5 years ago instead of clinging to this miserable life. Don't try to save me anymore. Let me die. Then I can finally be free." He started to run toward the road again, and Laura couldn't hold him back. Left with no choice, she gave in, telling him she had never lied to him. Leo stopped his frantic struggle. He leaned in to kiss her again, and this time, Laura closed her eyes and didn't push him away. She wrapped her arms around his waist and deepened the kiss, their lips and tongues entwining in a passionate embrace. Ethan stood a short distance away, watching it all. The pain was so intense, he could hardly breathe. All the strength drained from his body. Unwilling to watch any longer, he covered his eyes, but his fingertips came away wet and cold. It felt as if a drop of blood had fallen from his heart, landing with a silent, deafening splash. Back home, Ethan took out his suitcase and began to pack. He threw away everything except the bare essentials. After a few days of work, every trace of him had been erased from the house. On their anniversary, Laura, who had been gone for days, returned, bearing a gift just as she had in previous years. Ethan felt nothing. He handed the box back to her, unopened, his voice as calm as still water. "We're divorced. We don't need to celebrate this anniversary." For some reason, seeing him like this, Laura felt a sudden panic, a sense that things were slipping from her control. She hated the feeling, so she grabbed his hand. "Ethan, about the birthday party. Let's just forget about it. No matter whose fault it was. Just give me a few more days. Leo is on the verge of full recovery. When that happens, I'll remarry you immediately." This was the 38th time Ethan had heard that promise. He no longer believed it. He calmly shook his head. "Laura, I'm sick of this 3-person drama. I just want it to end." He was talking about a final goodbye, but to Laura, it sounded like he was just lashing out because she had been neglecting him. She immediately prepared a romantic candlelit dinner, offering to spend some quality time with him, just the two of them. Fireworks bloomed outside the window. The air was filled with the scent of roses, and the flickering candlelight illuminated Laura's handsome, intense face. For a moment, Ethan felt dazed, as if he had been transported back to the early days of their relationship. But when he looked up and saw Leo's hateful face reflected in the glass, he snapped back to reality. There was no going back. Everything was broken. Laura, unaware that Leo was watching, poured him a glass of red wine, her eyes full of tenderness. "Ethan, after we remarry this time, how about we have a baby? I want a child who looks just like you." Before Ethan could answer, Leo, outside the window, let out a crazed scream. Laura spun around, saw him, and her eyes widened in shock. She instinctively shot up and ran outside. Ethan watched them argue by the door, feeling that the whole scene was pointless. He picked up his bag and headed for the exit. Just as he stepped outside, several large men grabbed him and dragged him into a car. The car sped toward the outskirts of the city. He was pinned down in the back seat. When he looked up, he saw the lewd stares of his captors. "Mr. Cole, mister. Vance gave us an order. He wants us to take good care of you. He wants you to suffer everything he did, to know what it feels like to wish for death but be unable to die. You'd better be cooperative. If you keep us happy, you'll suffer less. We here, miss. Morgan loves you. Can't get enough of you. So, why don't you show us some of those skills you use to please your wife in bed? Let's have some fun." The men sneered and lunged at him, tearing at his clothes. Ethan had never imagined Leo would do something like this. His face went white, and a cold sweat broke out all over his body. He struggled desperately, but he couldn't break free. In his despair, he felt his phone and instinctively tried to call for help, but it was quickly snatched away. No calling the cops, but we'll let you call Ms. Morgan. If she answers, we'll let you go. If she doesn't, ha ha ha. The man's vulgar tone made him shudder. He quickly dialed Laura's number. The ringing echoed in the car, but no one picked up. His clothes were torn to shreds. A man's sweaty hands roamed over his body, so disgusting he wanted to vomit. The men groped him while letting him continue his futile calls. Give it up, Ms. Morgan is with Mr. Vance. Don't waste your energy. Just give in to us, ha-ha. Amid their taunts, he called again and again, each call going straight to voicemail. The moment his shirt was ripped open, a recorded voice announced that the user's phone had been turned off. At the same time, one of the men took out his own phone and played a video in front of Ethan's face. In the video, Leo was in the passenger seat while Laura drove. The phone on the dashboard, used for navigation, rang incessantly. The screen displayed the contact name, Wifey. Laura's hands, gripping the steering wheel, repeatedly lifted and lowered, but she never once answered. After the 18th call, Leo took her phone and spoke in a pitiful voice. Laura, you promised you'd spend a day with me and not answer your ex-husband's calls. You're not going to break your promise, are you? He's so annoying, he just keeps calling. Can I just turn it off? An unreadable expression flickered in Laura's eyes. Finally, she gave a calm nod. The video ended. Ethan's mind went blank. His heart felt like it was being torn apart. The pain was unbearable. He let his hands fall limply to his sides, his eyes filled with a dead emptiness. Seeing his utterly defeated expression, the men were satisfied. They started making lewd comments, lit cigarettes, and relaxed their guard. Ethan watched them quietly. As they lit each other's cigarettes, he seized the moment, kicked them away, and leaped out of the car window. He hit the pavement hard, blood splattering on the stone bricks. Help! Help! Me! He forced his eyes open and reached out toward a few police officers in the distance. Only after he saw them running toward him did his vision go black, and he passed out. When he came to, Ethan found himself in the hospital again, his wounds treated. The doctor said he had a mild concussion and kept him for overnight observation before letting him go. After his discharge, he received a call from his parents. Ethan, the immigration papers have been approved. Your mother and I bought tickets for today. We'll see you at the airport at 2 p.m. Ethan slowly closed his eyes. Finally, he could finally leave. He rushed back to the house, but as he pushed open the door, he saw Laura. She was wearing the same white dress she'd worn for their marriage certificate photo, adjusting it in the mirror. She held the necessary documents in her hand, a slight smile on her face. Seeing him, she smiled and walked over. Ethan, where have you been? I was with Leo for his checkup yesterday. That's why I missed your calls. The doctor said his condition has stabilized. We can go get remarried now. Ethan's face was devoid of joy. He just looked at her with cold, indifferent eyes. And after we remarry? What then? Wait for his next breakdown and get divorced again. Laura frowned and grabbed his hand. Of course not, Ethan. Don't be so pessimistic. Maybe this time he's completely recovered. Before she could finish, her phone rang. The moment she answered, she heard Leo's pitiful voice. Laura, I had a nightmare last night. I dreamt about what happened that day. I'm so scared right now. Can you come be with me? Laura was silent for a few seconds before finally agreeing. After hanging up, she looked at Ethan. Ethan, just give me half a day, that's all. I promise I can calm him down. Take the documents and wait for me at the courthouse. Let's meet at 2 p.m. Don't be late. With that, she grabbed her blazer and rushed out the door. Ethan stood in the entryway, watching her hurry away. She left in such a rush that her dress was still askew, the bow on the back crooked, as if she was terrified that any delay would cause something to happen to Leo. He suddenly remembered his freshman year of college. Laura had run out of the library in the same frantic way. She had just successfully confessed her feelings to him and, in her excitement, had forgotten her books and rushed off to buy him a bubble tea. He had stood by the window, watching her run across the field, through the tree-lined path, and into the sunset. Back then, he thought she would always run toward him like that. He never imagined that in the end, she would always be running toward someone else. He went to his room, picked up the suitcase he had packed long ago, and before leaving, took one last look at the home he had lived in for 5 years. Leo's watch was still on the coffee table. His pajamas hung in the bathroom, and even the bed he had carefully chosen for their marriage was stained with the scent of Leo's cologne. How pathetic. He took a note from his bag, placed it gently on the console table in the entryway, and walked away without looking back. Laura, this was our 38th divorce, and it is our last. I will not be remarrying you. Be happy with Leo. I'm setting you both free. As for me, I will find someone who truly loves me. Goodbye forever." Laura's fingertips slid restlessly across her phone screen. The chat window was stuck on her last message, read but unanswered. Sunlight streamed through the mall's glass dome, casting a harsh line across the side of her face. "Laura, doesn't this watch look amazing on me?" Leo grabbed her arm, dangling a wrist adorned with a luxury watch in front of her. The smell of his cologne was overpowering. "Yes, if you like it, buy it. Get whatever you want," she replied distractedly, her face a mask of agitation. She refreshed her message feed again. Ethan's profile picture remained stubbornly silent. It had been 6 hours since her last text. Scrolling up, she saw that their chat history was almost entirely one-sided. He would send her messages, sharing little details of his day, often with cute emojis. Her replies were always a few cold words. She didn't know when it started, but Ethan's messages had become less and less frequent until their conversations were nothing but formulaic exchanges. This was too strange. In 3 years, he had never gone this long without replying. Leo pouted. "You seem a million miles away today." He leaned in close to her ear, his eyes crinkling in a flirtatious smile. "Were you too tired last night?" Laura subtly pulled away and glanced at her watch. It was 1:20 p.m., only 40 minutes until their appointment to remarry. A sudden, inexplicable panic gripped her, a feeling that something important was slipping through her fingers, spiraling out of control. She had decided that after placating Leo this one last time, she would dedicate herself to making things right with Ethan. No more divorces. "I'll have my driver take you home." She gestured for the clerk to ring up the purchases, casually handing over her black card. Leo's eyes lit up, and he seized the opportunity to pick out 2 more pairs of limited edition leather shoes. As she watched the clerk tie a silk ribbon around the box, Laura suddenly remembered Ethan's birthday last year. They had planned a trip to the beach, but Leo had a sudden relapse, and she had to leave Ethan alone in a foreign country. They had planned a trip to the beach, but Leo had a sudden relapse, and she had to leave Ethan alone in a foreign country. He didn't even get to eat his birthday cake. Later, feeling a pang of guilt, she had bought him an expensive bottle of cologne. He had looked so utterly surprised and grateful, smiling as he pulled her into a hug and thanked her. Now, the memory was like 1,000 needles stabbing into her heart, leaving nothing but a raw, aching pain. "Laura," Leo whined, shaking her arm. "What are you thinking about? Why are you ignoring me again?" "It's nothing." She snapped back to the present, the phone hot in her palm. "Something urgent came up at the office. You head home first." In the car, she dialed Ethan's number for the 100th time. Outside, a storm had rolled in, the sky dark and heavy, the oppressive atmosphere making it hard to breathe. A flash of lightning lit up the sky, followed by a crack of thunder. Rain hammered against the windows, tracing paths down the glass like tears. The sense of dread in Laura's heart intensified, and she began to tremble. After an agonizingly long wait, a cold, robotic voice informed her the user was unavailable. She slammed her foot on the accelerator, desperate to get home and find out what was wrong. The second the car stopped, she bolted inside. The house was eerily quiet. Normally, Ethan would leave a small, warm lamp on in the living room for her. But now, there was only darkness. The moment Laura pushed open the door, she knew something was wrong. The faint, woody scent that always lingered in the air, Ethan's favorite custom-blended cologne, was gone. A terrible thought began to form in her mind. "Ethan," her voice trembled, echoing faintly in the empty house. Laura kicked open the bedroom door, and the scene before her made her breath catch in her throat. The closet was wide open, Ethan's side completely empty. In the bathroom, all his toiletries were gone, leaving only the bottle of cologne she had carelessly bought him last year, still sitting there, unopened. "This can't be happening. He must be playing a joke on me, right?" she muttered to herself, stumbling into the walk-in closet. Her fingers slid across the clothing rod, touching only cold metal. His everyday pajamas, his favorite wool coat, even his slippers, all gone. She yanked open the nightstand drawer. Next to the neatly arranged antacids and calming patches, the incense he lit every night was missing. Laura's hands began to shake. She frantically searched every corner, the hidden compartments of the wardrobe, the bottom shelves of the bookcases, even under the mattress. But she found nothing of his. The small ceramic figures they had made together, the crayon handprint art, the handmade couple's rings, the decorative pictures made from seashells and conches, all the small objects that held their shared memories had vanished. "Where are our photos?" she asked, her voice raw, as she threw the photo album to the floor. All the pictures of Ethan had been meticulously cut out, leaving only her solitary figure standing alone on the photographic paper. Don't play this kind of joke on me. I can't take it. Laura's eyes were red-rimmed as she sobbed into the empty room. She dialed his number again, the number she knew by heart. The same cold, robotic voice answered. The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later. Laura hurled her phone against the wall. The sound of the screen shattering was deafening in the silent bedroom. Ethan. She paced the room like a caged animal before suddenly rushing to the study. She remembered a wooden box he cherished on the top shelf of the bookcase, where he kept all their love letters and movie ticket stubs. He was gone too. A door opened downstairs. Laura flew down the stairs and grabbed the housekeeper, who had just returned with groceries. Who gave you permission to throw things away? Where are all of Mr. Cole's belongings? Her temples throbbed, her voice so loud the crystal chandelier trembled. The old housekeeper, terrified by her furious expression, turned pale and stammered, "Ma'am." And Mr. Cole came back and packed everything himself. Last Wednesday, Laura let go, her mind reeling, a terrible sense of foreboding washing over her. That was the day of Leo's birthday party. Ethan had looked so sad, and he had left without a word while no one was paying attention. He came back that afternoon, looking very grim. The housekeeper said cautiously. He didn't say a word, just started packing. We couldn't stop him. Laura felt as if she'd been hit by a sledgehammer, the pain in her chest so intense she could barely breathe. What did he take? Almost everything. The housekeeper looked down. His clothes, his books, his toiletries, even the fragrance blending tools he kept in the garden. And the photos. She hesitated. What about the photos? Laura's voice rose sharply. He started a fire in the backyard and burned them all in silence. The housekeeper's voice grew quieter. Burned them to a crisp. Not a single one left. I knew something was wrong then. I tried to comfort him, but all he said was that it was all a lie. Laura felt her strength drain away. Her legs went weak, and she had to grip the banister to keep from collapsing. A terrible emotion called regret washed over her as she finally realized what Ethan must have found. Fragments of memory pieced themselves together into a complete picture. On their 5th anniversary, she had abandoned Ethan again to take a moody Leo to the beach. And she had asked for a 38th divorce. The yacht, the champagne, the photo of her and Leo in matching pajamas. She had been drunk and had carelessly stuffed the incriminating photo into the inner pocket of her blazer. He must have seen it, Laura whispered, a cold sweat drenching her shirt. Ethan must have found the photo while packing her suitcase for a business trip. Her phone rang, startling her. Leo's name flashed on the screen. Laura impatiently shut it off and rushed back to the bedroom. She frantically searched every possible hiding place, finally feeling a small piece of stiff paper in the crack between the nightstand and the wall. She pulled it out. It was the burnt corner of a photograph. It showed the part where Leo, wearing matching pajamas, had his arm around her. On the back was a date. May 20th, their wedding anniversary. How did things get to this point? Laura punched the wall, her knuckles immediately splitting and bleeding. She had told Ethan she was going on a business trip, but she had actually taken Leo to a party on a yacht. She remembered texting him, "Don't wait up for me tonight." She hadn't even read his reply. "Remember to take your antacids." The sound of dripping water came from the bathroom. Laura staggered inside and found that the cap on his favorite body wash hadn't been tightened. The familiar woody scent made her stomach clench.